Each part, I don't know how long it's going to take, and you guys don't need to stick around for the whole thing, but you can stick around for as long as you want. We're going to just kind of go through each part of the script. I'm going to start with a kind of start to finish, beginning training, right? We're just going to take some notes as we go. The thing that I really want to cover as we go through this is, oh, that's neat. It warns you of the live stream now. That's cool. I want to cover also how to take notes on stuff like this. Like what is the important part of what we're going over, right? I mean, everybody knows the script and the rebuttals and stuff like that. So why are we covering that? Why is it important for you to review that? So we'll go through all of that. The first thing I'd say is there's different kinds of script study, right? So as we go into this, if you're a newer person watching this, I think that a lot of people can bore themselves into a bad place where they don't feel like they need to study because they're just doing one thing. They're reading the script over and over again or something like that. That's not going to be effective long term. It doesn't make sense for you to do that long term. Honestly, its effectiveness is limited from the start. So, reading the script over and over and over again in initial training is important. But past that, you're not dialed in on different parts that you need help with, that you're struggling with. You're just kind of beating yourself down with stuff that you definitely already know. So it doesn't make sense to do that. So when it comes to different forms of study, let's cover that first. Okay, so different forms of study. You have, I'd say first, the script reads. Okay, and the effectiveness of script reading, meaning like just sitting there for a good half hour and reading the script over and over again, is in the first probably 4 weeks of being with the company, especially when you start to have a fall off period. So if, let's say, for example, you get started and you're 2 weeks in and all of a sudden your numbers drop off pretty well, the chances are your problem that you're running into is pretty basic, and probably has to do with the basic script quite a bit. And so reading that script over and over again for the first couple weeks of training can be extremely important. Script reading, I would try to be complete in what I'm doing. I wouldn't, you can segment it out to different parts and whatnot too, especially if you're limited in time. But you just have to even out the skill. It's like if I go in and I study every single time, just the value of the visit, let's say. Great if I'm struggling with that, but I'm not really balancing out what I'm learning. So I would focus on big portions of the script when I'm script training. Another place this is effective, and what I would do, especially again in the beginning of your employment, so the first month or so, when you're not getting leads on the road, you're not completing the system, and so you're inherently not getting all the information out there. You're not practicing everything, and so when you're able to go and script read, you're getting that second half of the script out there to customers, or to your fake customers, but to yourself, and you're able to practice and study that. So script reading is an important thing, but I'd say it's most important in the first 4 weeks or so of the job. Role play and practice with yourself. There's a proper way to do this and an improper way to do this. So just understanding, what the proper way to go about doing this is important. What I mean by that is that you have to play a realistic customer. And a lot of people when they're in this stage where they're practicing like this, they struggle doing the scripting, never mind being a customer for themselves. So I'm going to give you an example, because you really have to elevate your level of objections as you go throughout the script. When you're working with yourself, you're not going to mimic everything a customer says. You can envision what a customer is saying, but I'd urge you to say the objections out loud as you're going through your script. So I'd knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. Good afternoon. My name's Paul Duffy. I hope you're Mr. Jones. I'm not going, yes, I'm Mr. Jones. I'm not answering back simple stuff like that. Hi, Mr. Jones. I'm with Renewal by Andersen. We just did some work for Mrs. Smith over on 123 Main Street. The reason why I'm here is it looked like you had the original vinyl windows. How long have you lived in the home? Yeah, look, I appreciate you being here, but I'm not interested in doing anything with windows right now, but I appreciate your time. And then, that's when you cut back in and go, okay, so, I appreciate you letting me know that. I'll just let you know why I'm in the area. We just finished up a job for Mrs. Jones over on 123 Main Street. It looked like you had, like I said, the original vinyl windows. And I noticed walking up that you're experiencing some warping in the vinyl, right? So you're just kind of going through it like that. Yeah, I noticed some warping in the windows, but honestly, they're fine. I'm not going to do anything with them. They're pretty good. It'll be a couple of years. Okay, well, I respect that. And I appreciate you letting me know that. Of course, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you're ready to replace your windows. We're getting ahead of ourselves. All we'd like to do is have one of our phone call, just take a look at the windows, so on and so forth. So you're giving yourself an objection, and then you're moving forward in the script. It's your aim is to get it as seamless as possible. You don't want to have to think about what you're going to say to those objections. If you want to make it even more interesting, there's a website called random.org. Okay. And you can go there and you can actually type in each rebuttal and then just click randomize and it will continuously randomize it. So we do this with contests sometimes, but we'll type out every name and then we'll randomize it 3 times, right? Commit yourself to 3 times or 4 times, not, oh man, I don't like that rebuttal first. I'm not going to do that rebuttal first. Randomize yourself and segment into different parts. So, you're not going to typically hear the spouse objection right when the person answers the door, right? So put it as not interested and can't afford it rebuttals, right? Put some specific stuff there that you've been running into too, right? But you can do something like that. You can also use flashcards in the same way, okay? But use those to give yourself objections so it is kind of random as you go through. Role playing in the office, of course. And this is probably the most effective form of study, as long as you're with the right person. If your teammate's not as serious as you about getting better, then this isn't going to matter at all. It's not going to help you one bit. And so my strong suggestion is, find a teammate that cares about where they're at, maybe is in the same place as you. And then there's some effective methods to do this. Andrew, can you do me a favor real quick, just because I'm on this? Can you grab my nasal spray? Um, so when you're doing this, it's important. Just a couple notes here. If you're the other person should take notes, but really, what you should be doing is recording the session because when you record that session, you'll keep that forever. I mean, if let's say for example, I sit down with Andrew and I'm role playing or Alex and I'm role playing, and I record that session, I'm able to record what they're saying and what I'm saying. We're able to go back and listen to it together and identify problems that are in that pitch. And then I can continuously go back to that. Do yourselves one better and record the entire thing. So just commit to a certain amount of time. So let's just say, for example, I know Doug, you guys talked about doing some role playing with people on whatever day, Tuesday and Thursday, let's say. So those people come in, let's say Tuesday, you record their pitch, with another person. Then when you're going through notes, you guys record the notes that you guys are going through so you can see this level of accountability. Keep it to like a couple minutes, That way it's not like some super long recording. And then the next time that person's in, Thursday when you guys are role playing together or whatever, then you can check to see the difference in what you've experienced, right? So maybe it's drastically better, maybe it's worse, maybe it's exactly the same, but you'll be able to see those differences, and that's why it's so effective to study that way. Okay. Um, Script breakdown. What that means is just drilling certain parts of the script. And usually I would use a regiment that includes like 3 different things. Okay. So first would be writing the script down. Second would be reading. And then third would be saying out loud without reading. Okay. So you're drilling this. Let's say I take the value of the visit. I'm going to write it down. Now, here's the thing: when you're doing this, when you're like writing the script down, for example, you should be saying it either out loud or in your head as you're writing it down. So it should go like this. It should go, one of my foremen need to see your windows to do what needs to be done here, for whatever. Okay. Whatever part of the script you're doing, you should be writing that down and saying it out loud as you do it. Okay. And then you write, read it, read it, read it. Okay. Maybe I read that 3, 4 times, and then I'm going to say it out loud without looking a couple times. Maybe I read it a couple times out loud, then say it out loud without looking a couple times. And the whole point is you're hitting every sense. Okay. And you're testing yourself. So your memorization process is going to be utilized much better. And I would do this just like, in boxing. They practice based on like 3-minute rounds in amateur boxing because that's how long typically an amateur boxing round will be. You might do 3 rounds of 3 because an amateur boxing match typically isn't going to go 12 rounds, and it becomes unrealistic to do 12 rounds of stair running or 12 rounds of really anything at that point. But you might go in and it might be 3 minutes of some are 30 seconds, some are 3 minutes. It might be 3 minutes of a jump rope, right? 30-second break, 3 minutes of jump rope, 30-second break, 3 minutes of jump rope, 30-second break, and then you might transition to heavy bag, and it's 3 minutes on heavy bag, 30-second break, 3 minutes on heavy bag, 30-second break. I would do the same thing here. I would do writing it down 3 times, reading it in your head for 3 minutes, reading it out loud for 3 minutes, saying it out loud for 3 minutes, right? Starting again. And when you do this, you're hitting every sense. Okay. Maybe listening to it is another thing that you add to that as well. Okay. We'll put that down here too. Okay. So listen to a perfect recording. So it's got to be perfect. Meaning that you're reading it out loud for it. Okay. Because you want it to be put in your head the right way. Okay. But when this is very important for people that just start, it's also very important for people that are limited in time. Keep in mind too, this is something that largely can be done while you're driving. Besides the writing, it can be done while you're driving. You can say this out loud, say this out loud, say this out loud. Listen to it, listen to it, listen to it, say it out loud, say it out loud, say it out loud. It just takes discipline because it's not easy and simple. And you have to actually sit down and do it. But when you're script studying, okay, it's extremely important. If I am let's say that I'm top of my game and I'm doing this every single day, it's going to be really hard for me to lose that fire if I'm repeating this process every single day of practice. So honestly, for a lot of people, it's more about that. It's more about repeating the practicing process. Getting the repetition in the process down. But I mean, you're going to be with a customer for 3 to 15 minutes, right? So practicing that longevity, being able to continue talking for that amount of time, a lot of the reason why people fail in this job is because they don't know how to stay at that house. Okay, they don't know how to keep at that house. And so getting your studying tactics down are extremely important. Okay. So again, we're going through the initial, day of training, first day of training, just as some examples, just to go through it. Let me grab a manual real quick because I'm missing one part. So if, let's say you're watching this to get just a reminder of how training went and the importance of each section in training, or let's say that it is your first day and you're just kind of watching this to I don't know, maybe Andrew's out sick or something like that, and so you're watching this. The first thing that you go through, just a reminder, is the history of Anderson, and I think a lot of people discount or don't understand the importance of this when we go through the history of Anderson. See, the history of Anderson is a history of innovation. Everything about Anderson's history speaks to a level of success that's not seen by any other window company out there. And so it's actually important to our job to understand why Anderson's history is so unique. And when you go through just a list of struggles, I know how our generations like to list struggles, right? When you go through just a list of struggles, it really, really, it shows you, it will identify for you how successful the company actually is. We start during World War I, roughly. Okay. It's a brutal war. A lot of Americans are killed. A lot of people from other countries are killed. People flee from other countries, and that's how the Anderson family gets to America. They open up a small lumber yard. That small lumber yard starts to grow. They then transition that lumber yard to Bayport, Minnesota, right before the pandemic of 1918. Okay. So right before they go into the pandemic of 1918, they transition that plant over. Then we go directly from that. Okay, we have a great 20s right into the Great Depression. Then into World War II, where we have to innovate our product because companies are shutting down based on metal shortages. Then after we're done with that, we invent a window that would ultimately potentially lead to our demise because it was so cheap and inexpensive to build the vinyl window. And then we have to dig ourselves out of inventing that vinyl window. Okay, now, sure, it would have probably been patented. We probably actually prevented it from coming out for a couple extra years, which is good. But we ultimately had to innovate through that time. We didn't just want to settle for a vinyl window, which was going to screw over our customers. Anderson could have made a few $1 billion very quickly, but decided not to. And then we create Renewal by Anderson, and we go right into the Carter administration, right before that, and all the struggles that we had with the Jimmy Carter administration, the different tax issues and things like that. We go right from there to the .com bubble, right after the 90s, into the housing crisis in 2008, then into a prolonged war, or during a prolonged war in Iraq and Afghanistan. We end up transitioning into the pandemic of 2020. So it's been an interesting history there, which everything about our history shows the fight of our company is important. Our company has a great history, and you can be a part of that history as well. We then transition into our core values, and I like to identify 3 specific core values that are important to us when dealing with customers. And if you live by those 3 core values, then you'll typically do very, very well. First one is communication. Be open-minded. Don't prejudge how people come off or what people sound like or seem like. And by the way, too, this can work both ways. I remember working at a market, and it was like a flea market. And the nice old man that ran the business, he nice guy, super friendly to everybody. Seemed like a really good, inclusive guy. Was really kind to everybody. I go through his photo album. He has a photo album there, and I see a bunch of pictures, like 5 photos in, 5 pages in, of him in a Klan uniform. I'm like, what the hell? And it was like an entire photo book of that. I'm like, oh, that was surprising, right? I just you don't know who you're gonna run into, right? This is obviously not on the job, but I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? I've had people that have turned around and they answer the door. I have one guy come out, what the F do you want? Get the F off, all this stuff, just to drive up 5 minutes later to say, listen, my wife just left me. I'm sorry. I'm going through a lot. I didn't mean to take it out on you. I apologize to you, So you just don't know when you go out there what's going to happen. Communication is extremely important. Communicating with the company is extremely important. We have a sales rep here with our company that's doing extremely well, that his first day of training ran into the most difficult stuff that you'd ever run into this job possible. And so him communicating those issues with us allowed him to be able to be comfortable in his job, allowed us to be comfortable with him. It showed a level of maturity that we didn't expect him to have almost. And through that, he was able to gain significant career growth at a very young age of 19 years old. Integrity. We want to be honest and ethical. We're dealing with a lot of different departments, and it puts our company in peril in a bad place if we don't deal with customers with integrity. We have to be honest with the way that we're doing things. Same thing goes for how we treat our company too. You can't have things like, we had a guy who's sitting there asking his manager for help. Why he wants help. Well, all the while he's, fake marking down houses. Like, we can see that, first of all. We're not stupid. We can see that. We can get studies taken from the iPads on that. That being said, that person sitting there asking for help, wasting their manager's team's time in about 8 different ways. And then you start to look at it and you go, okay, well, between call outs and that, we were, 20 issued leads off of the biggest month that Renewal by Anderson's ever seen in Central. And we got 2 people that easily could have made that time up, or could have made that production up, no problem. And we got stuff like that going on with them. It just doesn't make any sense. That impacts us so much as a team. It's not right. Integrity is extremely important. And then passion. you don't have to be passionate about Windows. Most people aren't passionate about Windows. You'll grow a passion for Windows, but just not like that. It's not that weird. That being said, a passion for success, a passion for growth is extremely important. After that, we go through position description. And just a reminder, we are not too strict on attendance. I mean, I'm sorry, on attendance issues. We are on dress code and grooming issues. That being said, you're forward facing to a customer. If you want to have a bunch of piercings in your face and stuff like that, and we allow you to get away with it, then it is what it is. That I guess it depends on what there is there. That being said, you have customers that are going to be seeing you on a daily basis, and so you have to keep that in mind. Grooming is extremely important for this job. Attendance is obviously important. You're expected to be here every day, so that's gone through day one. Then after that, we go through the pay, which I don't think we need to go through on here, and then the steps to success. We're going to spend maybe 5 minutes on those steps to success. I'm going to go through a couple key ones. Just give me just a 2-second break here, just real quick. Okay. So the steps to success have been rewritten a million times. They start off when I started as it was the 12 steps to success, and I remember it reminded me of AA because it was 12 steps, and the first one was AAA, attitude, accomplishment, accountability. But it was extremely childish. I felt like in the way that that some of it was written. It was just very it was just very bland. There was no content to it. So we added some stuff to it, and that's what we go through on day one. And I just want to go through a couple of these important ones. The first one says, have a great attitude, regardless of your day's results. And I can tell you that you'll be tested on this day one when you're on the road. You know, having a great attitude is extremely important in this job, and it will impact your team extremely negatively. So you could look at it like this, right? If I just going to put here steps to success, I'm going to put down the first one here, impacts you and your team significantly, is definitely growth or termination resulted. And what I mean by that is if someone is coming in and they're negative every day, then that's the first person that you don't want in your van. It's fine to have someone that's lower performing. It's fine as long as they're trying to get better genuinely and they are improving, then that's fine. It's not about that. But if someone has a bad attitude, and I'll give you an example. When you're a manager, I don't really care who they are. I don't care what they've done or why you don't or do respect them. It doesn't really matter to me. When your manager tells you, hey, listen, we need you in a half hour early, or we need you to come in an hour and a half early. Doesn't really matter. If you have something going on, you can say, hey, listen, I got this specific thing going on this day. I can't do it. But to sit there and go, no, I'm not doing that, it's inappropriate. You have no place on this team. You should have been fired the second that you did that, just to be honest with you. Because obviously that person's doing it for, the manager's doing it for a reason. If they're not doing it for any reason, you have open dialogue. You're more than welcome to come to me or come to them, pull them aside and have a conversation about it. But we don't do that in the vans for a reason. There's obviously a heavy goal that we have out there. And honestly, if I'm being very super honest about it, some people can afford to go privately to the manager and say, hey, listen, I can't do that. Some people, you can't even afford that. And if you're at 5 or 10 demos for the month, then you probably shouldn't be doing that. You should probably be looking at what you're doing. You should probably be asking that that manager if you can come in early more, because there's a lot of work for you to do. So just don't have the balls to, I should say that with the training video, but don't have the don't have the whatever, don't have the balls yeah, the audacity. There you go. To go up to your manager and talk to them like that or whatever, especially in front of the team when they're trying to improve the team. If there's something unreasonable asked, absolutely come to me. But this attitude is extremely important to this job. Second is focus on your accountability and what you can affect. Okay. So it doesn't, there's plenty of things that you can come up with that you can't control. We have an exercise for this, which we'll do, which is the circle of concern. And we'll talk about that in a second. Putting a note here. It's easy to let things that should not impact you impact your results. That being said, you have to focus on what you can change. Until your house is completely clean, right? You shouldn't be throwing stones at a glass house. Is that the expression? I think that's the expression, right? You shouldn't be doing that. It doesn't make sense to do that. And a lot of people get there when they start to blame other things, other people, other customers, issues like that. When they start to blame stuff that's outside of their control, a lot of times, most of the time, I'd say it's just deflecting. That's all it is. I have a bug bite on my leg and it's driving me crazy. I'm deflecting toward the bug bite. Work toward your goals. Okay, work toward your goals. We all have goals. You should have goals. You should have multiple goals. Okay, so you should have multiple goals in what you do. The the goals that you should have, all right, just to kind of put it out there, the goals that you should have, I'm going to say it like this: have two goals at least, okay? Monetary and growth. Okay. Now, growth, by the way, doesn't even need to be in this job. Your growth goal might be to go to a different company or whatever and just take your experience that you had here to give you success. Hell, you might be just waiting for a call back because you just went to law school and you just got a degree in law. And I get that. Do your thing. But while you're here, make your goal to make as much impact as possible and to get the most out of the experience that you can get. I've had so many people that have gone on to do other careers, right? I guess the most different one was a conservationist in like African whatever you call that, like I don't want to say safari, but like African land or whatever. They work on a conservation, okay? And they came back into the office one day. It had been like a year and a half. They were coming back to visit family. And they came back into the office and they said, you know what, this job really helped me out more than any job out there. And I was like, how? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're working with animals, I figure working at the zoo or something like that. The person did work for a veterinarian, clinic for a while. I figured that would help you more. And the person said, no, you taught me stuff that can't be taught in college or can't be taught in a classroom. The ability to deal with people, especially now. He says to me, he goes, I'm working on this conservation with people from, I think it was 18 different countries. I have to deal with locals every day that barely know what I'm saying. And I have to be patient while I do it. I mean, this job taught me, he goes, I'm not visiting that veterinary practice. I'm not visiting my old college. I wanted to visit here for a reason. This job taught me so much, right? So it doesn't, your goals don't just need to fit into the company's goals, hopefully they do, and that's great, whatever. But even if they don't, your personal goals, and then focus on your accomplishments. By the way, too, this does not mean what you can accomplish at the company. This means what have you done of value or difficulty in your life. I had this conversation with a friend pretty recently. They had gone through some extreme issues in their life. I've mentioned them before in here. But they had there was extreme abuse in their life. It's extremely difficult to even think about, never mind go through. But the things that they went through were extremely horrific. You can't find them in horror movies that are just absolutely terrible. And this person would say to me all the time that they feel like a failure, or they feel like they're not strong, or they feel like they're barely getting by. And I said, to this person, I said, you barely getting by, barely getting by. Most people wouldn't have survived what you've gone through. Talk about accomplishment. You can do anything. You can do fucking anything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're amazing. To get through what you've gotten through is amazing. Not many people can be pushed to that limit. Specifically, essentially, kidnapped and taken into a lifestyle that just no one should have to experience. And another example is we have an employee here that had a heart and lung transplant, and things did not go right at first. They were on a waiting list for years. They were very close to death. They finally got that call, and they had to make the decision to go get into the surgery table for that long recovery. A decision that honestly, a lot of people just choose death instead of waiting and stuff like that. And this person chose life, went and got that surgery, wasn't supposed to work for a year, was back within 4 months. It's just people can handle extreme things, but if you can handle something like that, then man, you got this job, no problem. Okay. Next, we go through memorizing the script and rebuttals. Not much more to say there. Stay focused and attentive while on the job by limiting distractions, such as negative text messages and phone calls. It's very simple, guys. It's like, I hate to say same rules as school, but, you have to have less distractions. Less distractions lead to more. Of course, I would drastically misspell distraction. Lead to way more successes. Utilize negativity. Okay. Now, what I mean by utilizing negativity is that it's easy to get stuck when you're at home. Let's say I get in a fight with a spouse or something like that. Then I get into a fight with the spouse or something. It's going to put me in a dark place. It's going to put me in a bad place. Maybe it's a parent, right? Somebody passes away, something like that. This job, because you're dealing with people at such a high level, if you just let it flow, then I'm telling you, you let the job take over, you will literally forget your responsibilities outside the job. And I do this, like I forget to file my taxes because I'm just like, oh, okay, hustle of work and this and that, and I love it. I come here and it's like a black hole of time in a good way. That sounds bad, but in a good way, where it's like, wow, that whole day just flew by. Dealing with customers gives you even more of that feeling. Okay. All right. So preparation is extremely important in this job. Make sure that you have, and by the way, preparation goes beyond just items like dressing warm and stuff like that. That stuff is important. Preparation, though, means that you have a clear and defined goal, and then you have a plan of attack that you've devised. Okay. So my goal might be to set 10 demos per week, or issue 10 demos per week, and grow within 6 months. Okay, great. Those are pretty blank goals. Put down here example goals. Okay, those are great goals to have. How do you achieve them? Well, I can tell you what, the production takes care of, I don't know, maybe 50 to 75% of the growth. That consistent production, when you create it, takes care of a lot of that growth. The rest of it is showing up with a positive attitude, right? And so when you do one thing, it affects the other. So preparation is extremely important. Emotional intelligence conversations is a primary tool. When dealing with customers and coworkers, cooperation and understanding is important. Use your product knowledge and personal connections to work with the customer. This is a big note I put here is do not force personal connections. And personal connections are made more than you think. A personal connection could simply extend to a customer saying, hey, look, I just did my kitchen over, and you saying, yeah, it looks great. Looks absolutely fantastic. Great job. Right? Oh, did you put this deck on yourself? Oh, by the way, it's a beautiful painting you have there. Where did you get it? right? Personal connections could mean a lot of different things. Okay. For me, it's I try to get in a deeper conversation with the customer. So I try to get in a conversation about, I don't know, their work, for example. Okay. Their family, if they have photos, or if they, express they just had a newborn baby, something like that. Just basic, simple conversation. Look for ways to grow by improving your production, by also taking on extra responsibility. So take on responsibility. And this is very important though, as you earn it. What I mean by that is a lot of people think of extra responsibility as making up for some other deficit. That's not the way it works. If you have another deficit, I don't want you taking on extra responsibility. If your numbers are bad, don't try to train people. Don't try to recruit. Okay. Sure, bring in referrals, stuff like that. Make yourself valuable. Okay. That's fine. But when it comes to getting into significant other stuff, the first step should be earning in your job. Okay. The second step is ask for growth, ask for things to do. Don't ask for a position. A position might not be available. Don't say, oh, I think I deserve it. Okay. Show it. We watch everything. We watch everything. I will tell you that I am comfortable with every decision that I've made on leadership, even if the person did not do well. I am comfortable that I've picked the person that earned it over the person that did not. Right. So if you're like, well, damn, I don't know what I can do to earn this, just ask. Just ask. I'm happy to help you, happy to put in time with you, happy to meet with you. It's an easy answer. Okay. Communicate frequently with your peers and with management. Communication is important in expressing your needs and desires. Don't expect, okay? We try as hard as we can to make people be more than just a number. That said, don't get stuck in the machine. There is always, 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 sorry, I'm a little bit broken there, always time for you. Okay. We'll always make time. Nobody can ever say, oh, he didn't make time for me. Even if it takes a week, you'll know you'll have your time. And if I miss it for some reason, something comes up or whatever, then I will always do whatever I can do to be, even if you have to come to my house. I've had people come to my house before because we didn't have one-on-one times and I'm watching, my kids or something like that. And so they've come to my house, whatever we need to do to get it done is fine. Then finally, know your company and be proud of the product and service that you offer. We already went through that. I don't going to go through that. Okay. So we go through the steps to success. And that leads us into the scripting. Now we already went through script study, okay? But I'm just going to take a couple notes here on the scripting itself. All right. First is that this isn't difficult to learn, but do it in stages, okay? So start off with, day one doing the intro, need, value of the visit. And while you're doing this, okay, while you're doing these steps, just think about it. I'm not going to move on to the next part until I get these parts down. Okay, here, just 1 second. Need 30 seconds real quick. Okay. So do it in stages. Okay. You want to do it all in stages. You don't want to do it all at once. Okay. Learn each part. Okay. So do it in those stages first. Then second stage would be I'm gonna still gonna put the value of the visit here because I think it takes a while to learn. So the value of visit, commitments, the phone, like the call center part, okay, and then last impression. Now, obviously, this is what's happening naturally in training, anyways. But by the way, too, if you want to go through and do your basic training again, go through and do it just like that again. Don't skip steps. Do it just like that again. There's a study breakdown page as well. All right. And then we go into rebuttals. All right. Last thing just to remember on scripting is that transitions are super important and you need to be extremely clean to have success. Mumbling and bumbling like you know, stuff like that when you just say words like that stuff is a failure. You don't know your scripting if you include it. Okay. Just an important note there. If you are like Mr. Jones, so one of our, foreman will actually, come out to uh if you're reacting like that, then you don't know your scripting well enough. Okay, perfect. I'll let Andrew's him out. I'll let him know. No big deal. I got it. Okay. 1 second. I just gotta inform Andrew. Hold on 1 second. I want to breeze through the rest of this part, so I'm going to go into rebuttaling. Okay, so we're going to spend a significant amount of time on rebuttaling specifically, and on just kind of how to do it and the importances of the transitions and so on and so forth. And so I'm just going to put a couple quick notes down to learning the rebuttals because that's all that's important here for this part. First thing I'm going to put down is treat it. I'm unmuted now. Yeah. Okay. Treat it like the script. Memorize 100%. Okay. The secret, secret, secret is rebuttals. I put this rebuttals are only as important as rebuttals are. That's obviously confusing for a reason. Okay. So I say that, the reason why I say that rebuttals are only what rebuttals are, because obviously that's confusing. But what I mean is that you're not going to have to use rebuttals at many doors. We're going to teach you an advanced rebuttal training, however you want to put it, advanced training, 102, whatever the hell you want to call it, or 201, or I don't know. I got kicked out of high school, so I don't know how the 101, 102, whatever works. That being said, we're going to go through that next. So I'm going to skip a lot of the secret part. You should listen to that part if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about there. But basically, rebuttals are extremely important to know. You want to know every single one of them. Hell, if you could learn 25 more, okay, then learn them all. Get them all down. The more you can put in your brain and memory, the better. That being said, you're not going to use them unless you need to use them. And so, you don't want to be someone that jumps the gun and just starts rebuttaling too early. Okay. And we'll teach you in the rebuttaling section about that and about how not to do that. That being said, I just want to make it clear it's extremely important to learn every rebuttal. And if you could learn literally, if we had 70,000 written rebuttals and you could somehow retain all of them, then I would say learn every single one of them because you want to have those responses ready and available to you. That being said, the reality is the secret is that rebuttals are important, okay? But more important is learning how to move your way through the script. So just keep that in mind as you're learning rebuttals. They are a means to an end. They are meant to get you further along in the script. They are not meant to be conversation argue starters. They're not meant to be, argue continuers. They're meant to just be transitions to get you into the next part of the script. So when I say, of course, Mr. Jones, and if you're ready to install new Windows today, you would have called us. That's why it's important to get the information in your hands now. After all, it's eventually something that you're going to have to do. If I pause there and stop there just like that, then the issue that I'm going to create when I stop just like that is I'm going to make it so the customer is forced to argue with me. And so there's no, it puts us in a bad position. It puts you in a bad position with the customer. So the better thing to do is, that's meant to move me further along in the scripting. So when I say that transition phrase, before we go any further or we're getting ahead of ourselves, should go directly into the next part. Okay, so I'll just give one example. May I make a suggestion? I'm not interested right now. Well, of course, Mr. Jones, if you're ready to install new Windows today, you would have called us. That's why it's important that we get this information in your hands now. After all, it's eventually something you're going to have to do. That being said, the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer your questions, and leave with a quote. But for 1 full year, obviously, I went into the second part of the value of the visit, but whatever part you're going into, okay, it's meant to transition you directly into the next part. Okay. So very important to know. It's hard for me. We're supposed to be eliminating rebuttals, okay, and we're going to from the scripting. But it's hard, man. I feel like I'm deleting like a piece of history. I feel like I'm deleting something that in the past has been effective, and I feel like we're going against the grain big time when we eliminate rebuttals, any of them. I feel like we should be adding to them. I'm fighting with myself about it, but I know the right thing to do is to make it easier for people to memorize, and so we will over time eliminate a sizable amount of the rebuttals. We just have to get really, really effective in training people how to deal with customer interaction. Okay. Another secret is number 1 and 2 of each objection is more important than number 3. I know that sounds simple, but what I mean by that is that I would rather not interested 1 and 2 and no money number 1 and 2 than no not interested number 1, 2, and 3 and no money number 3, right? I mean, like it's just you got to have some certain order there, and if you had to make choices, those are the choices that I would make. Okay, you should not lose many people at all that ask for a callback or ask to call you back. You should have an extremely high success rate on that. Okay. An extremely high success rate. Same thing with spouse time rebuttals. You should have a similar success rate, a very high success rate with those rebuttals. Okay. And then lastly, you should be, I'm going to put this in bold, get through at least the second part of the value of visit at least 85% of the time. You're going to see a lot more leads if you do that, and 85% is reasonable. So get through at least the second part of the value of the visit. What does that mean? Well, the goal of this visit is to go over your options, answer any questions you have, leave with a free price quote. Good for one for you. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? 85% of the time you should be getting through that. I'm going to put one more note here because I did say that this is important, and I think it is, and I don't think people do this to a high degree, and I don't think team leads hold people accountable in this. The addressing other objections part should be learned by week 4 and tested. Okay. Meaning you want people to over time be able to broaden the amount of objections and rebuttals that they know, okay, that they can handle. And so there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rebuttals that are optional to learn that we used to have to, by the way, used to have to memorize. That training was no longer than it is now. It's actually shorter. And used to have to memorize all of those. So it just gives you an idea of where you should be at with the rebuttals, okay? But especially stuff like thinking of selling home. It doesn't come up very often, but it's a very high success rate, okay? What's the price? Very high success rate, all right? So just that stuff should be learned by week 4. In team leads, you should be holding people accountable for that as well, okay? Now, likewise, we're going to do a separate window problems part. So I'm not going to go through that significantly, but the last part of training is the window problem. Oh, they had the heat on. I wanted to turn that on. Okay, so a couple elements here. Hold on one second. All right, so here we go. Sorry about that. Got a weird text message I had to address quick. All right, so with the window problem section, that the biggest thing I want to go through is resources. Okay, I want to go through resources just briefly. Okay, so you have your stuff in the design and dissatisfaction. That's going to go away largely. We're working on a new template for it, much more basic, 2 pages instead of like 5. But while this exists here, and I'm still going to give that out as a second, as like an addendum to, okay, it's a great resource, guys. It goes through stuff pretty in detail and explains it. So, for example, when you're looking at the vinyl window section, it says sun damage causes warping, discoloration, difficulty operating, glass impaction caused by warping. Warping, which is caused by sun damage, causes sail failure, condensation, draftiness, cosmetic issues, operation issues, open and close and lock securely, glass impaction. When the windows don't lock, it's a dangerous issue. Also causes a lack of efficiency because the windows are not airtight. So it goes through all of the different window problems for you. So it's a great resource to use. Okay, it's a great resource to have, great resource to use. So I strongly suggest that you go through that. Okay. All right. Design and dissatisfaction page. Way spelled that. No, I did not. Okay. The second resource, guys, is the another thing that we're going to eliminate, but we'll start sending out to people is the PowerPoint. Okay, we'll have a separate one, but it's only going to be pictures and just a small amount of words. And the reason is it's just too much right now. It's too much. The reality is you want to be able to identify a problem, okay, and you want to be able to know what it is and be able to speak to it to the customer. You don't need all the words explaining everything, okay? Sometimes sun damage, warping drafts is enough. Okay. So PowerPoint will be redone, but the PowerPoint's another key resource to you. Okay. Renewalbyanderson.com. Or if you have them at your location, the beauty book, it's called. It goes through all of the window types and all the styles. That's important to know. It's also important to know what a Renewal by Anderson window looks like. So go to renewalbyanderson.com and check out each style of window. Double hung. It could be a double hung, casement, a specialty window. It could be any of those things. And then finally, showroom and Google images. All right, so the showroom is going to go through in each location. It could just be an events window to show. It's going to show you how to tilt in the window to clean, how to identify our windows more clearly, what the true scene insect screen looks like. Okay, just stuff like that, guys, is super important to getting familiar with our company. And then finally, Google Images. Okay, I'm going to give you some keywords to look at if you're struggling to identify each window problem and what they mean. Okay, so the things that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to type in things like vinyl window problems, vinyl window warping, fog in window glass, wood rotting on windows. Anything like that, guys. Okay, single pane window. Single hung window. These are things that are going to come up in the window problems you want to Google to identify. I know that sounds pretty basic, but Googling to identify these things is super important. Okay. All right. So here's the deal, guys. That is an overview of basic training. All right. Besides that, you have your script test, which is the last thing to come up. And in the script test, you should know at least 85% of your stuff perfectly. You should be able to pass script first, then rebuttals, then script with rebuttals in it. Your team lead should be recording your script test and giving you notes to take home. If you fail or pass, they should give you a grading sheet. If you ask for one, that goes through exactly why you passed or why you failed and what you need to improve on. Okay. If your team lead has not gotten that to you, they are not doing the right thing. Okay. Especially if you ask for it, they are not doing the right thing. They should be setting you up for success. And we need to have a conversation with your team lead. I think probably most of them are doing this correctly, but just, it doesn't, unless you bring it to light, then I don't know about it. Okay. All right, guys. So I hope that you understand and appreciate what we're going over and why we're going over it. Okay. We are live on YouTube. We're going to take about a 3-minute break to interrupt this video to go into the next video. Okay. I want to have a clean break in between videos. Okay. So we'll take like a 3-minute break here, and then we're going to dive into advanced training, advanced rebuttal training, some of the most important training that we go through. Okay. All right, we're gonna transition to the most, probably the most important thing that we go through, guys, which is advanced rebuttal training. Okay, now let's see how long this goes. I'd like to get through window problem training, but I might just do a brief overview of the window problems. We'll see how long this takes. I'm aiming for 45 minutes on this, but we'll see. Okay, this is the most important thing that you can go through. I think if you're, within a month of being in this job, um, then this is probably the most important thing that you can go for. It looks like my share screen is being a pain in the ass. See, great. It says my share screen is loading, so I don't know that it's showing a share screen. Probably not, I would assume. Let me see if I can try to get on a better network, maybe on the best network. Of course, we would have technical difficulties. If we do that, I'll just go and keep going. All right. You guys are gonna have to take your own notes. No big deal. Okay, so advanced rebuttal. This is gonna free me up to get through this a little bit quicker, at least. Advanced rebuttal training, guys. Advanced rebuttal training. And I'll tell you what, like we're gonna find a way to incorporate this into our initial training, because it is so important. I mean, it's so important. The problem is it doesn't go through scripting. It doesn't require scripting. It does require you to have a mind and understanding for customers. What advanced rebuttal training is training on not rebuttaling customers, on getting through your system, okay, without dealing with objections to a high level. So I'm going to give you some examples, okay, and then I'm going to go through the steps to this, okay. So I knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. Good afternoon, my name is Paul Duffy. You must be Mr. Jones. Yeah, I'm Mr. Jones. Great, Mr. Jones. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did some work for Mrs. Smith, 123 Main Street. The reason why I'm out here is to look at the original vinyl windows. How long have you lived in the home? 10 years, but I'm not doing anything with the windows, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Well, thank you for saying that, Mr. Jones. Before I go, I just want to point out that your windows being at there, they are 20 years old. Looked like they were starting to experience some issues with warping. Now, is that on the front of the home, or is that just on the front of the home, or is that in the back of the home as well? You're probably the front of the home, man, but really they're fine. I appreciate you being here, though. Okay, great, sir. And like I said before I go, I just want to point out that warping is going to cause you some issues with opening and closing your windows, or some issues with drafts. Now, I did notice some gaps in the bottom of the windows here. How long have you been dealing with that? I don't know, man. I haven't noticed it too much, but I'll tell you what, they're pretty sound. I don't really get a draft in or nothing like that. Okay, sir. Well, I appreciate you telling me that again and being honest with me with that. A lot of times people don't feel the draft. Sometimes it's just felt in the energy bills, is probably what you're experiencing. The other thing I want to point out, sir, before I left, is that these windows are starting to discolor. That's going to be because of the sun damage that's impacting the windows. That's why you see also that the glass is warping here. It's called glass impaction. That's a severe sign of the end of windows like this. Okay. Lastly, sir, these windows are all built with what's called a weep hole, and you can see them at the bottoms of each of your windows. Those are they're meant to drain the water, okay, out of the windows. Unfortunately, they don't work, and so what ends up happening is the water gets stuck in the windows, and it ends up just kind of going into either inside of the window, the hollow window itself, or inside of the frame if it gets really, really bad. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind, sir. That being said, may I make a suggestion? Look, you can make a suggestion, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to do the windows right now. So I'm just trying to tell you that it might be a couple of years, even. I don't even know. It's not on our list right now. You know. And again, sir, I do appreciate the honesty. You've saved me a lot of time by really being honest with me, and I do appreciate that. I'll tell you what I do. What I'll do, because you said that, is I'll just have somebody come out and check out the windows for you. They'll check to see what kind of problems you're experiencing. If you're experiencing issues, if we can't be a service to you, that's fine. So we'll just recommend someone else who can. But if we can help you, then we'll show you the windows and leave you with a free price code. That way, when you're already, at least have the information set aside. And I'm guessing that'd be at least helpful to you, sir. Maybe at some point, but just not right now. I just don't see the purpose of it, because we're not going to do the windows anytime soon. We have other projects coming up, like the roof, stuff like that. So it's not in the cards. Well, sir, and again, I agree with you. I think the roof is more important than the windows, so you should definitely do that first. That being said, the goal of the visit is just to go over your options. answer your questions, and leave you with a quote that's good for a year. So you can start the planning process, even if the windows are years down the line. That being said, I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Okay. Now, at this point, they might object again, but the point is this, is that you've been able to go through 4 objections without actually rebuttaling them, without actually giving them a rebuttal back. Okay. There's value to that. First value, you're going to have a higher success rate because you're getting through more of the script easier. You're not giving the customer fight back. There's no argument going on. It's not like they say one thing, you say a different one. They say another thing, you say a different one. It's not an argument. You're moving along continuously through the script so they can't accuse you of wasting their time. Okay. And you're saving all of your rebuttals down to that point. So if you need to use them, then you can. So if the customer comes back and says, look, I can't afford Windows right now, you can say, well, sir, very few of our customers have money put aside for new Windows. That's why we have special programs to make this more affordable, but we're really getting ahead of ourselves, sir. Okay. So it allows you to be able to have that information. Okay. It's all about this. It's all about understanding that you are in control. Okay. If I was making notes right now, this is what I put down. It's about understanding that you are in control. As the professional there, you have the information. You are in control. Okay. If we need to do one of them affirmation things, guys, and it's going to help you do it, then I will tell you right now, it's worth doing it. So if you needed to scream at the top of your lungs, I am in control, now is the time to do it, because you are in control. You are in control. You are the professional. You are in control. Okay. You have to remain that way. Like Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Do it. Ugh. Right. If you guys have seen that video, if not, then I just seem crazy to you. Okay. But you are in control. You have to remember that. Okay. Nobody else is here. The customer's not in control. You are the professional area. You are in control. Okay. So the first thing is understanding that. What comes with that control? What benefit do you have from that control? You control, when you are in control, the what, when, where, why. All of the questions, they will be asked. You control when they happen, what kind of questions you're getting, of course, what the responses are to them. Okay, and you're going to control where it goes from there. Those are the things that you want to control, the elements that you want to control. So that's why you have to live knowing I'm going to set this lead. I'm here, I've arrived, I'm going to set this lead. And guess what? If you feel at 10 in a row, you get down past the value of the visit and they just go, you know what? Get the fuck off my property. You might be doing something wrong. You might not be doing something wrong. You're a hell of a lot closer than if you're not even getting to that point. Okay. So just if you do this enough, you're going to experience such a high level of success. Okay. That you're not going to have to worry about, oh shit, do I have 3 demos to cover commission this week? Damn, do I have 5 demos to not lose my job? Well, you're not going to have to worry about that. You're going to have to worry about, oh, damn, did I hit 11 or 12 this week? Oh, shit, there's just one more rebuttal to get to that 12 level. You got to put yourself in the driver's seat. Nobody else can sit there. You need to sit in the driver's seat, okay? So you need to be in control. Just do it. Just do it. That sounds absolutely crazy when I do that. That's fine. So that being said, guys, there's steps and elements to this that you have to remember, okay? The first thing is you want the customer to object on transitions. They don't have to object on transitions. They can say whatever the hell they want whenever the hell they want to say it, okay? But you want to try to control that, all right? Because beneficially, now, old school frame of mind, back in the day when I first started this job, we were always taught you don't want to expect rebuttals because it's going to force you to change the way that you do your job. That does not need to be true. That's not an inherent thing. That's not something that is just set in stone. It doesn't matter. I want to know when the customer is going to object because then I can be prepared if it happens. I'm not dense, dumb, and slow. I know if the customer doesn't object, I'm not going to stand there like, ooh, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I know what to do. I'm a professional at this job. Just do it, right? I'm a professional at this job. I know what to do. So work out those transitions. You have the ability to, all right? You want to control when the customer is going to say no. You can't control if they say no. Good luck with that. When they're going to say no and how they're going to say no and what you do in reaction, that's what you can control. So the first place that's going to give you a common objection is going to be right in the beginning. One of the first places that you're going to see objections is knock, 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 open the door. What do you want? Nope, not interested. Okay. One of the first places you're going to see those objections. Here's the deal. If you hand over control to the customer, you're going to lose most of the time. That's the way that it is. So if you go, well, I didn't expect to catch on the day that you're ready to replace it, then yeah, you're going to lose control. You've given up. You've given up. There's no point. Stop doing the job. Leave the house right now. There's no coming back from it. Okay. However, measured response. Okay. Nod your head yes. Okay. Fair enough. Listen to the customer. All right. Don't let them close the door without you getting words out of your mouth. Honestly, it doesn't matter what those words are. That door is starting to shut. Then, sir, 1 second. Sir, before you shut that, I just need a minute of your time. Sound condescending, like it's not an option almost. No. Before you go, sir. Okay, because your follow-up is what's important. You're not going to keep that attitude on, but you want them to feel like they cannot shut the door. You are in control. Knock, knock, knock. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Dougie. Let me cut you off there. You're with a window company. We're not doing windows anytime soon. I appreciate your time. They start to shut the door. Now, sir, before you go, I wanted to point out one thing. I put my hand out like that, okay? Like I'm not putting my hand in between the door, but I'm basically there. I'm pretty close to the door at this point. Might be a little bit intimidating for the customer. No, sir, before you go, okay? Before you go, okay? Or, sir, I'm just here to point something out to you, okay? So you drastically misunderstand why I'm here, all right? Anything, as long as you transition into the positive, okay? So then let's say they stop shutting that door, okay? Or maybe they don't, you just keep going. Either way, I'm going to transition to, while I'm already here, sir, I noticed walking up X, Y, and Z, okay? Now, in the window problems, again, it becomes about control. If the customer is going to allow you to answer objections, if the customer is going to allow you to do that, okay? If the customer is going to allow you to go through window problems, if they're going to give you agreement on window problems, if they're going to be honest with you, then great. Treat them like kind and honest people. If not, take control. Just do it. Just do it, right? Take control. If not, just take control, all right? So you go through the first couple window problems, point something out, ask them the question. Sir, I noticed walking up the warping out here out front. Is that on the front of the home? Is that in the back of the home as well, or just the front of the home? Now, just the front of the home. Or they say, nope, they're fine. Windows are good. Okay, sir, well, I'll tell you what then. Before I go, obviously you haven't noticed the problems here. I'm going to point them out to you. I noticed walking up that you were experiencing X, which is going to affect Y, which is going to happen to Z. Z is going to cause this to happen. And then you know what? Your windows, they're very ineffective. These are not good windows. That's why your neighbors are replacing the rest of their windows. May I make a suggestion? Okay. You still want to transition into, may I make a suggestion? Everything should transition to, may I make a suggestion? If the customer says, first of all, 94% of the time, customer is going to say, we've studied it now at this point, 94 to 96% of the time, the customer is going to say, yes, you can make a suggestion, but this, or but that, but this, but that. Okay, fine. All right. It's rare the customer is going to say no. It doesn't never happen. Okay. So let's say that customer says, yeah, no, I'm not interested. Okay. Or just straight up, no. May I make a suggestion? No. You should be reverting back to, this is where the rebuttals become important. You're not interested in rebuttal. Okay. Because it's perfect for that. May I make, or does that sound helpful? Nope, not right now. Okay, sir, well, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you're ready to replace your windows. That being said, the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer your questions, leave you the quote that's good for a full year. So you have a planning tool. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Okay, well, this takes a lot out of me. This is tiring. It's an exciting part, man. It really is. Okay. When people figure this out, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Okay. All right. So if they say no, that's how you handle it. You're going to keep running into objections. Okay. So let's say that they said, yeah, fine. It's helpful, but I'm just not going to do anything with the windows, man. I got to get my roof done first, whatever. I'll go through agreement with the customer in a second. The key point is that I'm going to keep going through transition. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say in that situation, let's say they said they did the roof already. Well, they got to do the roof first. I'm going to say, you know what, sir? You're right. The roof is more important than the windows. That being said, the reason why I'm here, the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer your questions, and leave you with a quote that's good for one full year. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? You can't skip that step. You can't skip that transition or that question. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Should come out of your mouth regardless of your level of comfortability with it. The problem that a lot of people have is they do it in a shaky way. Okay. They do it in a shaky way. So they believe they're not going to get the appointment. And so they do it in this shaky way. And it ends up creating a lot of bad results from people that do that. Okay. So you have to have a level of confidence in what you're doing. Now, here's an easier way. If you're struggling with the verbiage of going after you just hear no, I have your last name as Jones, what's your first? Then something that you can do to add padding to it is say, so Mr. Jones, I just need a little bit of information from you. I have your last name as Jones, what's your first? So the way that that would sound is you'd say, does that sound helpful? They would say, yeah, not right now, man. I got to do the trees in my yard are, starting to fall down. I need to get them torn down. Oh, sir, I know that can be an endeavor. So I don't want to keep you from that. I'll tell you what, sir. The goal of the visit, oh, you know what? Because you said that, sir, the goal of the visit is to go over your options, answer your questions, and leave with a quote that's good for 1 full year. That way, you at least have the information set aside. And then this would be your filler question here. Now that being said, to do that for you, I just need a little bit more information. Okay. So the key phrase there is to do that for you, I just need a little bit more information. Okay. Or in order to do that, just a little bit more information. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Allows you to transition cleanly. Okay. It allows you to transition cleanly. All right. So now we get to some different elements of that. Okay. So we've talked about control. You have to have control. You have to walk up to that door knowing, hey, I am the man. I'm going to get this shit done. No one else can touch me on this. I am the best. I embody this. I am going to control the where. I'm going to control the what. I'm going to control the why. How I respond back is also what I'm going to control. So you're going to go up there. You're going to be positive. You're going to remain positive regardless of the customer's attitude towards you. Okay. And unless they tell you get off the property or leave now, then you're going to sit there and you're going to pitch that person regardless of comfortability level. Discipline yourself to do it. People would ask me, well, what if their spouse just died? Pitch them in a nice way. Okay. You don't got to set them. I get it. If they say, look, my wife passed away last week, I'm not going to go, okay, well, what's your name? I have your last name as Jones. What's your name? No, sympathize, empathize with the person. If you can do that, which most people can, then empathize with the person. I'm sorry to hear it. Don't talk about yourself. People don't want to hear, oh, okay, I just experienced a bunch of death too. Oh, your husband died? Actually, so did my brother, my aunt, my uncle, all in the last year. It's crazy. We have a lot in common, right? That's not what they're looking for. Okay. Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry to hear that. This must be a really rough time for you. I'm kind of embarrassed to have knocked at your door. I apologize for taking up your time. I don't want to take up any more of it, Mrs. Jones. I just, I'm sorry to hear that happened. You know, um, that seems like way too young. If he was anything like you, then he's got to be a fantastic man. And you're blessed to know. I kind of wish you know, sincere. Be sincere about it. Right? There's nothing insincere about that when I say that to a customer. None of that. But end off with that being said, Mrs. Jones, obviously I don't want to take up your time right now. I'll tell you what I can do is I can give you a call back at a better time. When you're done, when you're not grieving as much. I mean, it's never going to stop probably, but when you're not grieving as much. Okay. Like be a realist about it. Okay. If you feel like you can sneak it in there, then go, I could send somebody out at a better time. I just need a little bit more information from you. Okay. That's not too cold. All right. You can do that, but you don't want to just give up on the appointment, on any appointment like that. You don't want to just give up and walk away. That's why some people are losing right now is because they give up and they walk away. You have to focus on the transitions. Okay, can you do me a favor and just check it? 1 second. Pause for 1 second. No, it's Great Wolf Lodge, man. It's that indoor water park with kids. It's a struggle. So it's a struggle, and it's kind of gross. I don't want to go on a diatribe about it because I just unmuted myself, but you know, it doesn't have my endorsement. That's for sure. So, yeah, we'll have fun with it, but you know, the moving water makes it fine because it's just like constantly moving. You know, but I'll never go in the wave pool. You will not catch me in the wave pool. I don't want MRSA. Nope. No, thank you. So, there's a lot of chlorine in there. I get it, but no, thank you. So, all right, guys. So to finish this part up, you too. What we're doing there, okay? What we're doing there, I got to do one for Alex real quick. Just do it. Just do it. You got to have control. Just do it. So to finish this up, though, okay, the couple important elements to this to get this done. All right, you have to focus on having a level of agreement with the customer. Okay, so you have to have a level of agreement with the customer, meaning you if they object, okay, don't say no. All right, here I'm going to give you a couple amazing taglines. You got to write this down and do this. Okay, write it down and do this. So the first one is, Mr. Jones, I'm glad you said that. That's exactly why I'm here. Mr. Jones, that's exactly why I'm here. Look, I really can't afford this right now. Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, but that's exactly why I'm here. Okay. Mr. Jones, I'm glad that you shared that with me. That's exactly why I'm here. Okay. Yeah, look, I mean, maybe in a year or something like that, but it's not going to be right now. Wow. Mr. Jones, that's exactly why I'm here. I'm glad you said that. That's exactly why I'm here. This is a great way to handle objections. The customer doesn't expect it. Okay. Another example is creating agreements. So when that customer says that they have to do another project, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones says to you, look, I just did my kitchen. It's a lot of expense. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, the kitchen can definitely be more important than the windows, and it's definitely a lot more fun to do sometimes too than the windows. So I do get that. Okay, I'm guessing that was a bit of planning that went into that. Okay, yeah. Well, we definitely don't want to interfere with that, sir. Well, I'll tell you what. Before I go, okay. Or, add on, we definitely don't want to interfere with that, sir, but that is exactly why I'm here. Okay. Oh, look, I'm not going to do windows. I'm going to be moving pretty soon. I don't really know where, but in the next couple of years, we're going to move. Wow. That's like, you read my mind. I was going to ask you that. That's exactly why I'm here. I'm glad you said that. That's exactly why I'm here. Where are you moving to? Down south. Oh, that's awesome. I had a feeling that you were going to say that. That's awesome. Yeah, down south is great. Florida is an awesome place, for example. That's great. Well, but before we go any further, and then just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Just keep going. The fact that home value can raise up, they haven't put it on the market yet, right? So just keep going. You're buying yourself a lot of time and customer loyalty. When you agree with them, what can they say? What can they say? Oh, look, may I make a suggestion? You can, but I just don't have any money for this right now. Well, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Jones. It's exactly why I'm here. All we would do is simply have one of our foremen come out just to check your windows for free. Let's see if we can do what needs to be done here, find out what you like, and then we leave you with a free price quote. That way, down the line, you can give us a call whenever you are ready. That being said, I'm sure that sounds helpful. They can't legally. I was going to say they can legally, but they can't realistically make that same objection again. So when you say, "Does that sound helpful?" If they say, "Yeah, but I just can't afford it right now," treat it like you already addressed that. Oh, well, yes, sir. That's why I said that earlier, by the way, too. I completely agree with you. If you've already done stuff with the house, or a lot of customers that we talk to, they're just not ready to do anything right now. But create a level of agreement, okay, with that customer, right? And then make sure you have clean transitions. You have to get from part to part effectively, okay? So those are the keys to this. Advanced rebuttal training is actually eliminating a lot of the rebuttals that you're doing to do the much easier agreement transaction. Okay. Understand that our job, the sales reps love our job to be to need to generate need and want and desire. But our job is not that. Our job is to get them information, an appointment, okay, that we believe will run an issue and so on. So okay, that's our goal and that's our agenda. Our agenda is not to sell windows. Our agenda is to get that quality appointment for the representative. That's it. It's not to sell them anything, right? So keep that in mind, but walk around like that, like that's your agenda. Okay. All right. So creating agreement with that customer is important. All right. Besides that, guys, here's the deal with it. It's persistence. It comes down to persistence. If you do more rebuttals at a door, then you will do better. So let's say right now you're like, I don't know what to do. I need a quick fix. I'm feeling at this. I need to get more production. And your first goal is to just get the production up a little bit, right? Then what you need to do first is stay at the house for a longer period of time. Don't leave the house, guys. Don't leave the customer's house. Don't just walk away, right? Give more rebuttals, right? Unless the customer's telling you to leave, of course, then leave, okay? All right. We're getting done before 1 o'clock. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna see how I feel in the next 20 minutes. So I'm gonna stop this for now. See how I feel in the next 20 minutes or so, and then see if we can get on window problems. I'm exhausted right now, but I'm gonna try to amp myself up a little bit. We'll see if that Red Bull kicks in, and we'll get it done. Okay, but I just need to just finish up this section by just saying this, guys. This job, I am going to plead with you right now. Okay, I'm gonna plead with you right now. Please listen to me when I say this. Please. You can do this. You are right for this job and opportunity. It is a niche job. Not a lot of people can do it because not a lot of people are willing to learn how to do it properly. Okay. Not many companies do this job properly. And so they run at a super high cost and they lack a level of effectiveness that we've never seen before. And so a lot of companies just can't get it done, but we can. We have the system for it, guys. So please listen to me when I tell you, okay? If you want this, okay, if you want to grow, if you want to get it done with this job, then you will get it done. Make your job easier, make yourself more successful. So I just plead with you, please listen to this training, okay, and take it to heart because it is so important, okay? And just remember, guys, remaining positive is a great thing. The customers will look at that, okay? How you approach a customer's house is just as important. We've gone through the basics before, probably something we should have went through in the beginning, but we can go through that next time we do training. But when you go out there on the road, what you're looking for, okay, what you're doing, what you're looking for is you're looking at the customer's windows, but you're looking at their houses, you're looking at what that customer likes to do. You're looking for connections with that customer. Okay. You're looking to make connections with that customer. That's what you're getting paid for. Okay. So look, there's a bunch of stuff I'm going to go through in other videos. All right. But I want to clean this one up by just saying, guys, you got to go for it. You got to wake the hell up. You are good at this job. A lot of companies don't get this right. You have the system in front of you. Make it easier for yourself. All right. For the love of God, you are good at this job. You know that you're good at this job. You just cannot be clouded, okay, by a lack of production, in the beginning. You can't be clouded by having a bad week, all right? You'll be able to get this done, okay? All right, guys. So just keep in mind, just do it. Just do it, okay? Keep that in mind. You are in control of your careers. You are behind the steering wheel. Don't let anybody else control that, okay?